Hey everybody, it's Matthew. Welcome back to the channel. Since my new song, Virtual, has been out for about a week now, I thought it would be fun to go through and take a behind the scenes look about how this song actually came to be. I got this idea from my friend Kid Lightbulbs, who is another independent musician on social media, although he makes a different kind of thing. He makes like ambient and electronic stuff, but he does do some behind the scenes stuff, and so I thought it would be fun for me to do that as well for my own stuff. And by the way, if you have not checked out my new song yet, Virtual, it is available to stream on all platforms. You can just search my name plus the word virtual and it should come up. I'll give you guys a link down below where you can get to some of that. Also, don't forget about the music video, which I will also link. Alright, so the beginning of this song is from a ridiculous experiment that I did almost a year ago, where I attempted to see if I could make ChatGPT write a Soundgarden song, or at least a Soundgarden-like kind of song. And that was a video for Soundgarden Month, which is of course coming up very soon once again. But if we go here to this, you guys can see the conversation with ChatGPT that I did here to see what it could come up with. And here's some stuff. As you can see, I asked it several questions and it had significant difficulties figuring out how to actually, use the tuning, because yeah, you can see the obvious problems here with that. So we keep going down here, random stuff, tried to make it do some other things and that didn't really work, so we gave up on that and we were just like, okay, whatever, let's go with a title. And that was like too on the nose, so I was like, let's try to come up with something different here. I shouldn't have gone with the titles before the lyrics. That was a mistake for us to do that, so we gave up on that. We went back to the riff. This is such a ridiculous thing. I tried to get different riffs here. Again, it did not work. And I tried to do it, then I tried to do bass line. That didn't work either. This thing was having some trouble. And then we had some lead stuff here that I was like, let me just get a few of these and then we'll build something around that so far. And then because it was ChatGPT, I asked it to come up with some lyrics that had to do with like technology and social media and all that and stuff, and how we're like too plugged in, as it were. And this was a little bit of a mess. And then we got here with the verse and it's like, oh, we were very close with this. And so I took a bunch of the lyrics that it gave me and I added some things of my own, deleted some stuff. We just moved things around until it worked in a way that I liked. And the vocal melody, we gave up on that because it was just not going to happen. Then we went back to more titles again. And that was kind of the end of the thing here. We got close, as you can see. This is referencing some of the lyrics we had. Moral is it got close. Of course, I documented the whole thing here on the YouTube channel, so you can go to watch this right here. I do wish this video performed a little bit better, and that's okay. Okay, and then let's go back to the DAW here. So as you guys might have gathered from the ChatGPT conversation, this is not an AI-made song in any way. This was an AI suggesting ideas that were mostly terrible, and me taking some of what it gave me and modifying it or changing it completely to make it work in a context that made sense. So pretty much every riff got completely rewritten because they were all bad, and the bass doesn't matter because it just kind of follows along with it, although I did add some kind of Ben Shepherd-isms because it's supposed to be a Soundgarden song. And then the drums had to be completely from scratch programmed because I wasn't going to ask ChatGPT to do any of that because there was no way that it was going to come up with anything legible for drums. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, bass and drums are programmed because, of course, I can't play either instrument thanks to muscular dystrophy. Impossible to do anything like that. Can't use my fingers in my right hand to play the bass that way. That wouldn't work. That part of my hand is not strong enough. And of course, drums would be entirely impossible. So there we go, programmed for you guys. So of course, if we go here, you guys can listen to that by itself. I was kind of worried about the attack being a little too much. I honestly did like how the drum track turned out. Of course, you can hear some stuff there that's going to be different from the actual riff, because we're using a lot of like fifths and fourths and just different extensions instead of playing the root the whole time, because that's just more interesting. Chorus drums had to be on a separate track because I had to do different things with the effects to get that to sound how I wanted it. Like putting more reverb on it and different things. So yeah, there was that stuff. Okay, so let's talk about vocals real quick. Here are the final lyrics that we had here, which I think fit a lot better. I ended up deleting the majority of the pre-chorus lyrics and just settled on these phrases at the end of it because I thought this made a more interesting pre-chorus idea, and then I just doubled it to make it 6 bars because that felt good. And then the chorus is what it is here. Most of this is the same. The only adjustment I made after the final lyrics were changing the pre-chorus to just be digital ride virtual or digital ride virtual tide, repeating twice after the first time. And then of course the chorus lyrics were extended by 2 lines just because I wanted to make a chorus and a half basically, because that made sense for adding a guitar solo on top of it. So, you know, there's that stuff. And of course the vocals are what they are. Lost in the neon wilderness, where whispers fade, shadows go rest. And there's a little bit of that, and it's like, here's some chorus vocals. Caught inside a virtual storm. Just a tiny bit there so you guys can hear stuff. Now, if you look at it physically, yes, there's a lot of punch-ins and comps and different things on these because I don't ever go a full one shot through the whole vocals and sing it all at once. That's kind of insane to do a little bit, unless you're a particularly gifted singer. And there's not a lot of people that can give a super high quality vocal all the way through a song every time and do it multiple takes as well. So instead we go pretty much a line at a time and sing through it. And if that's not working, or if we got a difficult spot, then we'll shorten that up and punch in some more stuff. Yeah, that's how all of that works. But of course, for me, with my physical limitations of disability, I have to do a lot of workarounds, which does involve breaking stuff down into much smaller parts so I can get the best sound possible, because I cannot physically get through a whole song and deliver the best performance that way. That's just not going to happen. So there's that, and some people will scream about this, but so yeah, Melodyne is on it. Don't be mad. I know people are weird about auto-tune in certain contexts, but there's a good reason for this, which again is we want the best results we can possibly get. So we do a little bit of Melodyne. Now the reason I like Melodyne is it doesn't have to be an active thing. It can be something you put on after the fact and then you make your adjustments yourself where it's needed, instead of having an always on thing that's correcting you the whole time. That's stupid. So all I do is if I get a good vocal take, of course, I'm checking it for pitch to make sure that I did sing it right, and having the visual Melodyne helps me do that. Even if I'm not using it for tuning, it's good to have that there. And if there's spots that are a little bit out, then I will correct them. Although on this song, everything was not tuned because sometimes it didn't need to be. So we didn't do that when it didn't need it. Now my typical goal with the vocals is to not be off more than like a half tone. So if I'm a tiny bit sharp or a tiny bit flat, then I'll correct it. But if it's more than that, if we're talking like a whole tone, I'm probably singing it again because that's too much of a correction. It's not going to sound right. Also, it's a little bit dishonest because if you can't at least do that well with a vocal delivery, then, you know, you need to go back to the drawing board with it. And of course, Melodyne has a weird glitch with heavy vocals sometimes where it can't process the notes that are happening. And so it just gives you this amorphous blob that you can't do anything with. And so that happened a few times. And when that does happen, you kind of just go with it because you can't tune it when it does that, which is fine because the passages it happened on sounded good anyway. So doesn't matter. And then, of course, we got the layers. The main verse is just a verse vocal. It's by itself. It doesn't have any extras on it. It's got some effects to make it better. Of course, the pre-choruses we have stacked with some harmonies. So this guy here is a lead pass, and then there's a double on it that is the same pitch. And then we have a lower sound here, which is a fourth lower than the main line. And when we get to the second pre-chorus, because we want to build stuff up, I also added a harmony that was a fifth higher, I believe, because we want to surround it with the same intervals, essentially. That's how we're building that chord up to make it sound cool. Harmonies, and then the chorus is a lead pass, double pass, and then we have octave below harmony with a double pass on that as well. So that's vocals. That's consistent vocal process for me. That's pretty typical what I do. So yeah, the vocal arrangement and some other arranging things were done based on Soundgarden songs for reference. Outshine was a very helpful guide with how I did this. I mean, this is pretty much, you know, the same vocal arrangement that Outshine had with the single verse by itself, and then the spacey pre-chorus with some harmonies, except Outshine doesn't actually have harmonies in the pre-chorus, it just has a double. And then a chorus that is doubled with a lower octave harmony also doubled. That's exactly how they did it. There's also a weird extra high thing that's in there, but I didn't bother with that because you almost can't, it's almost imperceptible in the real song, so I wasn't going to do something like that. So yeah, there it is. And then the guitar arrangement was kind of like Spoonman-like, you know, because we had the verse here that introduces you to the riff, and then we put all the instruments in with the riff for 4 bars, and then the next 8 bars or whatever is the actual verse with the lyrics in it, and then the pre-chorus here, and the chorus, which is 12 bars always, and then we have a bar in here, an extra 4 bars again here that are just doing a thing, have a lead guitar section, and then 8 bars here, repeat the pre-chorus again. Added a bridge in here that is also in a different time signature. It's in 5/4 instead of 4/4. Thought it would be fun to have an instrumental bridge section. Most Soundgarden songs have some type of instrumental bridge, generally speaking. It's a good addition. And then we have the chorus that has the extra bars added to it. I believe it's an extra 4 bars on it, so it's normally 12. This is like 16. Actually, it might be 18. I forgot how I ended up counting that. And that's kind of it. I mean, I can show you what we're talking about here with how there's no instruments at the front. And then they come in here. And then, you know, that comes in there. So what we're doing here, this is a guitar with a DI here. These are DI, 2 DIs. I bust all of the guitar tracks, so that's why it looks like this. So this is a DI here for it with the, what is it called? Omega Ampworks Grandifier. Very cool amp sim that I happen to like quite a bit. It gets me the tones that I need, so big fan of that amp sound, and you can hear it. Some of these amp sims, it's really hard to control the gain, which sometimes is why the real amp is better. So you have that, and then you have a microphone each on the reamp. So play the DI, reamped it, through the amp and we get these. Like I talked about before, the nice thing about reamps is you don't have to play while you're throwing the DI into it, so you can do some fun things with the tone, which I really didn't do except on the solo track, and we'll talk about that in a second. So this is on the left side, it's low, got less gain. This side is on the right, it's got more gain. So as you can hear, very tacky, very trebly, and then this one is not like that. Much darker, and then added together they balance each other. And even though the one on the right sounds kind of bad, that's kind of the point, because it balances out. This DI also has the Fortin Nameless on it, which is a pretty classic Neural DSP amp sim there. And this sounds really terrible by itself. On purpose. That's how we do that. Always bad on purpose. This here is an extra track that I put in the chorus just to make it a little bigger. It's using the Chris Lord Alge guitars sim thing, which has a weird sound, but it does work in some contexts. So what we have there is we got that panned a little bit. How far is it panned? 50%. And then the same amount, there is a reverb that is panned on the other side. That's a fun trick with mixing guitars that you can do, is put the guitar on one side and then put its reverb on the other, and it gives you a bigger stereo image. Very fun. And then down here, and then on the last chorus, we have an extra guitar just because we want this thing to go out pretty hard, and this is just really fuzzy. And then it turns down there when the solo comes in. So as you can hear, this is the amp sound. Heavily fuzzed out. And then on here we have the Amped Roots 5150. I'm going to have to put my license back into this because I'm on a new computer. We'll worry about that later. It's irrelevant right now. So there's that guy. That's fun. I just wanted an extra crazy, ridiculous guitar just to make this chorus sound cool. And so if we take all of the guitars here, it's actually a pretty solid guitar tone there, very fat. So then we can talk about guitar fills. Oh boy, we love lead guitars around here. Look at this. This guy just does this here in the pre-choruses. Very Kim Thale to do that. Very fun. And that has the Mesa Boogie Mark II C Suite, which actually has 2 amps and 3 cab sims on it. Very fun. This is the closest I could get to doing a Kim Thale tone with a amp sim. And as you can see, the treble's tuned pretty high, bass is way down, the middle is kind of up a little bit. We've got the lead tone on and the onboard EQ. We have a lot of low end turned down, and then these are just normal pretty much. And it got me pretty close. And then the chorus fill here. Very Kim again, because we're using harmonics and he likes to do that sometimes. So here's the fun lead section. Now we can talk about this. This has the same sim with basically the same settings because we wanted to be consistent. Yeah, this was recorded on this track initially, and then I needed to move it so I could do its own settings here because it needed to be mixed differently. Now this I did record a little bit differently. I had to do some adjustments, but I recorded this in one take here and then recorded the lead section or yeah, we recorded this part of the lead section first and then recorded the more difficult part in one take, and it was comped together. And then here, Kim Thaylism, again, the outshined arrangement is back with the lead section in front of this here before the vocals come in the verse, and then when the vocals come in, we start playing a line that is mirroring the vocal line. Does the same thing in Outshined. Yeah, cool. And then we go here to the solo. This is the last thing here. This is fun. This guitar tone was reamped basically twice. First we played the DI and then reamped it, and then ran the reamp again with the wah pedal in the chain. Or no, I just reamped it with the wah pedal on. Okay, so no, I didn't do it twice. I just did it once with the wah pedal in the reamp chain. That way I don't have to do both at the same time. I can focus on playing the solo, and then afterward I can focus on putting the wah on it and manipulating it that way. Again, adaptation for the disability, that makes it a lot easier to do. So that's a fun trick to keep in mind if you're having issues with wah or some other pedal, or you just want a pedal effect. Just add it in the reamp chain. And of course, confession about the solo as well. It was heavily comped. Several of the sections had to be played on their own because I was having a lot of trouble getting it right. So we did that and just comped it together to make it sound as good as it could. And then learn it later to figure that out. Of course, learning it sort of, because I didn't actually play it in the music video because that whole video is mimed on purpose. And again, we've been over that reason with the other things before, disability reason. Also, most people do music videos that way anyways. That's a pretty common accepted thing. So why try to actually do the recording and film it at the same time? Just do the video later and mime it. It's not a big deal. You played everything in the song when you recorded it. Why do you need to go through the whole thing again with the video too? So that makes the most sense to do that. That's what's easiest for me to do. So yeah, now all we've done is kind of talked about the process of making the song here. I didn't really talk about the lyric or the idea of the song. Basically, it's kind of a lamentation about how we're super reliant on technology and social media, and it seems impossible to pull away with it. It's like you cannot live without it. And it's kind of just a song being, upset and angry at the fact that we can't get away from it in really any meaningful way as a society. And we get all this information and all this stuff constantly thrown at us from it, and it's not good for us. That's why Virtual Storm, Caught Inside a Virtual Storm is kind of the main tagline with the chorus, because that's kind of how it feels, And that's why the artwork also is how it is. It's just the scene is a sidewalk with some grass on it. It's got some rain, got some puddles on it. And then we've got the phone, which is sitting next to the puddle there and actually just fell in it because, I put ripples on it or tried my best to do that. And then there's water drops on the phone itself. But then inside the phone are storm clouds and lightning, and then a silhouette of my face is also inside it to insinuate the idea of being trapped inside a virtual storm. So you're trapped inside a phone in a thunderstorm. That's the meaning behind the artwork kind of thing there. And that's basically what the song is, and that's how it exists, and that's how it got made. So I think we're done here, everybody. So like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, leave a comment down below. If you got any other questions about the song, go ahead and leave them down below. And don't forget to click the bell so you know when a new video is out. And I'll see you guys next time in another video. Have a good one.